I wanted to talk about Star Citizen. We're going to see what other people have to say about it. This is Obsidian Ant. He's no stranger to space games. We're going to check out what Obsidian Ant has to say about Star Citizen. And I always say, don't pre-order games. I'll pre-order games and play them and give you my honest opinion of them. I checked out Obsidian Ant and saw he did a video on it. Let's check it out.
Okay, so yeah, that thumbnail and title text might seem a bit harsh or excessive, and I know some of you might not be happy with it. But the fact is that the reaction to Star Citizen 1.0 has been mixed, well, put it mildly. Now, before you start typing comments about Clickblade, do let me explain what this video is about. First, I'll give you a brief overview of what Star Citizen 1 is aiming for as it approaches its full release. Then, I'll talk about the community's reaction, which has been both positive and negative, both with very good reason. After that, I'll explain why personally I'm not thrilled about the direction of Star Citizen 1 and the direction it's heading in. And lastly, I'll step outside my personal preferences to acknowledge why I think the current plans are ultimately a positive step for the game. So yeah, as you can tell, this is a pretty big mixed bag for me, and that's part of why this video took a while to put together. I had to sit down and really think about how to present this, because while some people are excited about what's been revealed, it's not quite what I was hoping for. Now, I'm sure I'll come across as jumping between different opinions, but Star Citizen is a complex subject, and I've never been one to cling to a single viewpoint. It's important to look at things from multiple angles. I've always believed that, and that's what I aim to do here. So check out the timestamps in the video description if you want to jump between the sections that interest you the most. So what is Star Citizen 1.0?
This is a good time to pause, I think. So this is news to me. The Star Citizen is entering its 1.0, that it's officially releasing. How many years has it been? How many years in development? 10? That's honestly not surprising, okay? Tell me that one, tell me. Yeah. So it sounds like they're prepping for 1.0. And look, what the goal of this reaction is for me to see somebody that's been playing it and see what's up. Okay, we'll see. Ooh, let me turn those off because those are way, way loud. Thank you. So Star Citizen, the reality of it is I think Star Citizen is EVE Online's '1 competitor. I think that's how it is. So pushing for 20 years? Yowzer. So, and I personally have seen nothing but bugs. I'm not really sure what you can do in the game. There's a very limited things you can do. My outside looking in perspective is it's more of a storefront than it is a video game. It's meant to look big so you can buy their stuff and pay for things. We've talked a lot about how EVE Online does pay to win. In my opinion, the best for any game out there, literally, because of the lack of permanence that the items have. If you buy a big ship in EVE and you suck and you die, well, those items are mostly gone, minus the stuff that drops, and then those people that loot those, they can die, etc., etc. So EVE Online's monetization does very well. From an outside perspective looking in, Star Citizen to me does not look like it's like a video game. So we'll see. That's why I wanted to start our first ever Star Citizen video on the channel. I wanted it to be somebody that has played Star Citizen. Obsidian Ant has. Let's see about it. So I know there's a lot of negativity around this. What I'm going to tell you is I'm going to give you my blunt opinion that is based on the viewers, not just on me. So let's see.
Well, it's CIG's attempt to release a fully fledged, well-rounded, solid game with comprehensive and complete game loops. And whilst it might not contain all the features initially that CIG have promised, it will be a full experience. The idea also seems to be putting players centre and front. They're going to be the full focus of the game, at least it seems that way, and in many ways they will guide the direction of the galaxy. The 1.0 release then introduces a persistent universe that reacts to player actions, providing a seamless sandbox environment where players' decisions actually have consequences. Now, this is a key feature here. It's something I'll be talking about a little bit further on. But the fact here is that yes, to all intents and purposes, Star Citizen 1.0 is a sandbox game, and it leans more towards the survival, base building type of survival game. And yeah, that was news to me. So, to guide players through this big universe, Star Citizen 1 is going to introduce a main story arc. Players here will be able to engage with that story at their own pace, and completing it grants what's called a citizenship. This is something that's been an idea with the game right from the very start, the idea of being a star citizen. And this will be within the United
Thank you, Justin. We will do an Elite Dangerous video at some point. We want to check out a lot of the space games and see what's out there. And the ones I enjoy playing, we're going to make guides for you on. You know that we just made some No Man's Sky reactions and some Dune Awakening reactions. We'll be covering, at the very least, Dune Awakening. Y'all have been calling for me to do No Man's Sky and Elite Dangerous a lot. There's been a lot of voices for those. We definitely will have some of that coming out, especially as I hire a bigger, better team to let me make more things. Right now, it's mostly me doing things. So keep watching the videos, keep sharing them with your buddies. That helps us to do more dope things. You know, I never ever try to make my brand something that requires you to give me money to keep going up. If you just watch the videos and enjoy it at your pace, that's all I ask. You know, if you want to support more, you get extra. But I try to build my brand around not needing the community's generosity to survive. I'm bringing this up because it's important. I want to make more videos. I want to put out videos every day of the week, all this stuff. We're getting there. And how you can help me is by watching the videos and liking the stream, liking the videos. That's all I require of you, chat. It's just enjoying at your pace. That's it. So we'll definitely have some more. What's interesting, I'm seeing there is a narrative campaign. There's some story missions. If I wanted to do that, I just play No Man's Sky. Why am I going to spend thousands of dollars? You know, this is like this. I know in this game, there's a lot of pay to win stuff. No Man's Sky, one of the best games of the last decade. Actually, one of the top 3 games. It's like No Man's Sky, Elden Ring, and Baldur's Gate 3 in no particular order are the best games in 10 years. Full stop, not opinion, actually correct. You know, that's just how it is. So the narrative in the game, sure, okay. I like that Star Citizen has some narrative. I'll have to play it myself and see how it feels, okay?
United Empire of Earth. In game terms, that means it will unlock certain privileges. Being a citizen will do that. And that means things like...
Is Cyberpunk a good game? At launch, it was terrible, right? Have they improved it? Is it good now? Maybe I'll do a playthrough, you know?
Landowner...
That's a space game, right?
As well as supposedly political influence. Central to progression, of course, is the guild system, and this connects players to various professions such as mining, trading, exploration, combat, and piracy. Guilds, which are effectively run by the game itself or by the factions within the game, offer missions, reputation gains, and unique rewards, allowing players to special...
So I'm watching this stuff happen, okay? Can I do these things? Is this just a cutscene? Like this guy's piloting a ship or some kind of like drone that's like moving items. This guy is like supervising. This guy's like in a mech suit. This guy, someone in this drone too. Can I do these things? Is this a role? Is this a role? Is this a role? Excuse me, chat. I'm dying. Thank you for your patience while I'm sick. Can I do these things? Maybe we check out some Cyberpunk, chat. Maybe we like check it out. So, yes, you can do that. You can do this. Okay. We'll have to see because this looks pretty sick. Now, this is a pre-rendered cutscene, so you have to take it. Chat, I'm always about the viewers. Okay, this is a pre-rendered cutscene. So this is like a cargo bay and they're unloading stuff. This is pretty sick. How if you want to be like, if you can make a game that's like The Expanse. What a great show, y'all. Did we all watch The Expanse? So good. Like just the right amount of story of like space visceral stuff. There's like not a lot of like sex or like M-rated stuff. There's like some, but you just like fast, you know, I try not to watch porn even if it's in the thing because I'm a Christian, okay? So I just fast forward through stuff. But there's like very little. I highly recommend the show. Great show. It might be the best sci-fi show in the last 15 years. Actually, totally agree. I totally agree with you. Totally. Yes. Thumbs up, Expanse. If you can make this, if Star Citizen is that game, like color me intrigued. Problem is I've heard nothing but negative things. We'll see.
Specialize and progress in their chosen careers while influencing the game's dynamics. And yeah, that might sound a little bit more like EVE Online than many people were expecting.
Like this is pretty cool. Let me fast forward. So you have this ship. I like how this is where the cargo is like outside. It's like magnetized or something. And then you have these drones that are like putting it onto your main base. That's pretty sick. I like this a lot. But it doesn't actually play like that.
Backed in. Moving on, we come to a dynamic economy.
Okay.
Now, the game features a dynamic economy, and this is going to be powered by an in-game simulation, which CIG have referred to as StarSim. It's a system that ensures that the universe reacts to player activities, with prices fluctuating based on supply and demand. This means that there should be meaningful transactions like repairs and maintenance, which have significant costs, and this, they say, will add depth to the economic decisions. Taxes and insurance systems are also in place, and this includes an inheritance tax system. Well, there's no getting away from that, is there? Not even in a...
Can you walk in stations? Can you walk in stations? Can you walk around with your boy? Is this a thing? Yes? Okay. That's a big plus on Eve. Look, chat, we're just going to be honest. If you can walk around the station with your character, that's a big deal. Is there gunplay like Vanguard? Can you like... Can I, No Man's Sky, get in my ship, land on the planet, get out of the ship, and then start shooting stuff? Is that a thing? Yes? Okay, hey. Chat, we're going to call it as we see it. It's super buggy, but is it possible? Full FPS suite, okay. There are guns, all right. Oh, you can control every aspect, so okay, all right. Super buggy inventory system, super buggy, fair. I've heard a lot of good things about Star Citizen, tried it 4 times. I keep having a bug that makes the game literally unplayable, we'll see. Interesting, even has extraction style. Okay, extreme lag, desync. See, you can have a system, but if the game don't play, that's it, right? So, why is walking stations important to people? Crackar, it's a great question. It comes down to the permanence, I think, of your character. That if I know Eve's lore is like you're in an amniotic fluid sac, and you're in you're a capsule, and you're connected to the ship literally. But being able to like get out of your ship and walk around, it fulfills that sci-fi fantasy. That it's one of the things I think that Eve is missing is the connection to your character. Because the ships are interchangeable, the modules are interchangeable, the skins are interchangeable. It's a great question, Crackar. The Skinner system helps you feel like your ship is yours. Like I have unique skins to my Occator, to my hauling ships, to my Vider that only I have. Like you can try to remake my skin, but you know, whatever. Only I have my skin, right? So on my Vider, on my Occator, so it feels more like my ship, right? But my character don't feel unique comparatively to other people's, you know? Does that make sense? Like when I play World of Warcraft, I played WoW a lot. This is the, as we talk about this a lot, Prophet Iroh says like wisdom from multiple places gets very stale, right? So when I played World of Warcraft, if I played my Warlock, it felt way unique, way different than my Rogue or my Death Knight. Feels different, it looks different. It's about the connection to the character. That's what I think it's important that this is that's why I think this is important, and that's why I ask. So okay, let's keep watching. Let's keep watching. Great question, fantastic question. So
game, as well as ship insurance with different tiers. This will have a further impact on the gameplay. So there is a whole discussion going on the internet on the ship insurance and warranty that goes along with it. But that's something we'll talk about in a future video. It's another subject for another time. Meanwhile, player progression, which involves purposeful gameplay loops where activities like mining, crafting and building reputation feed into larger goals, and this creates an interconnected game world. So yeah, if you're mining, this will ultimately lead to other activities. It's not just mining for the sake of mining, it does serve an overall purpose, and this...
I've never seen this. Is this a ship tree? Is this a roll tree? What is this? Mining for a purpose. Credits, reputation, resource. What is this? Mercenary guild. Is this like roll tree? You know? I would love VoIP and EVE Online. I'm just going to be direct. Factions. Okay. So like I want to fly the prospector ship. So I have to go this way to do it. I have to be a miner. I have to go through here and then I get the prospector ship. Maybe? We'll see.
Is something I've wanted to see in a game for a very, very long time. It is something that's in titles such as EVE Online, where obviously all the materials you mine do go into active construction of real-world items. But when you come to a game like Elite Dangerous, it's all kind of faked behind the scenes whilst you mine, and it does have repercussions in terms of the price you're offered for that. The truth is that those materials aren't in turn used for real-world production. So yeah, in Star Citizen, it's going to be leaning more towards the realism side. Now,
a man was just carrying a box, just carrying one.
Star Systems. You may remember years ago that it was mentioned Star Citizen would have 100 star systems. Well, at launch, Star Citizen 1.0 isn't going to have 100 star systems. In fact, it's going to have 5. The difference and the reason being
Sure.
that all of these are going to be far more complex than the original outline. So these 5 systems will be Stanton, Pyro, Nyx, Castra, and Terra. Each star system presents different environments, from corporate-controlled worlds to lawless frontiers, and this should provide a whole range of different opportunities and game styles for people to try out.
I don't think that they need 100 star systems at the beginning. They might have promised that, but then they bring it back. So to these, I would rather, this is a problem that we saw actually with Elden Ring Shadow of the Erd Tree, in my opinion, where there was so much stuff. There were a couple zones in Shadow of the Erd Tree that were just empty, and I was confused because they were really sick, like the abyssal woods at the bottom of Shadow of the Erd Tree. There was nothing there. There was just the mansion, which was really sick. It was really cool once you got into the mansion, but the actual woods itself were so empty, and I was like, huh? Like, what's the point here? I'd rather have the world have less space to walk, but there's more in it. Same kind of thing with Division 1. We talked about Division 1 a lot because Dark Zone, one of my favorite games, one of my favorite modes was the Division 1 Dark Zone and their survival game. When I was running around Division 1, I would rather have had less of New York to explore, but I could go into every building. Does that make sense? Oh, so much good, Gil. Or Glee 7 Shed. Yeah. So much good. I'd rather feel more alive. That correct thought, yes. So if they promised 100 and they pull back to 5 and now each planet is full, sure. I'd rather even say, look, we have one glitch. Oh gosh, thank you. I'd rather them say there's one. The survival mode in Division 1 was so good. I'd love to make enough money one day that I could like buy the rights to like the Division 1, or I've talked about this, like maybe I make my own like that mode of survival game where it's like, that was one of the best survival games I ever played. It was the Division 1's survival mode where you're looting stuff, you're in the snow, super fun. So we'll see. That's my point, Justin. What's the point of 10,000 stuff if it's just all the same activity every single time? They need to have depth, not just length, because we talk a lot about horizontal versus vertical gameplay a lot on this channel, where Elden Ring Night Rain we have a bunch of information coming out on this game. It looks to be that it's the right amount of horizontal and vertical, where there's like 5 classes, but each class interacts with each class differently, and there's different weapons, and there's different builds. So it's just horizontal enough that it feels like you can just get in, but then there's a lot of depth with how stuff interacts. We'll see how that goes. So
these living environments should have their own economies, even politics and culture.
My man does it in one take. I respect it. Good job.
And this should hopefully give for a bit more of an immersive experience, as well as give more opportunities when it comes to exploration. So yeah, players can engage in various activities tailored to each system's characteristics, from lawful commerce to high-risk adventures in unregulated space. And it seems that somewhat here they're going to have a bit of a similar system to, again, EVE Online, with different star systems having different levels of security, all the way down to nullsec, where, you won't get much assistance at all. Whilst in systems with higher security, if another player attacks you, NPCs will turn up to take them on and kind of control the problems.
I like that.
Now, base building and space stations, as I suggested earlier, is going to be a thing. Players can establish and customize ground bases and construct player-owned space stations.
Yes, please.
And these are truly massive. They serve as operational hubs and symbols of achievement for players and for corporations. Building a space station is a significant undertaking, requiring collaboration and lots of resources. Stations themselves feature modules like bridges for command operations, engineering decks for maintenance, hangar decks for housing ships, and customizable expansions. It also have a need for defensive measures, which will allow players to protect their assets and stations, which can be expanded with other modules like dry docks, for, get this, crafting capital ships. Yes,
cool.
With Star Citizen 1.0, players will be able to craft their very own ships. So I guess so much for the pledge store and purchasing ships. Of course, it seems that the pledge store is going to continue on being a thing. You'll be able to buy ships, but you're also going to make your very own. And this includes...
So again, I'm outside looking in. You can buy ships for cash. I've heard this, that it's... I know that you can spend thousands of dollars on Star Citizen and buy ships. I will not do this. I think that is a complete waste of money on an asset that is not permeable. It's something we talk about a lot about power to the players that I do not recommend. Yeah, I've heard of this, Harley. It's not a good idea. It's completely ridiculous. It's one of the reasons that I think when a gaming studio figures out Web3 gaming, that will change the game. We talk a lot about eFrontier. Again, we're going to report on that. We're going to see if that's good or bad. Just like Star Citizen, I'm going to play the game probably on stream, and we'll see if it's good or bad. We'll see. Don't spend thousands of dollars on a video game, especially on an asset that is not yours, on like a basically pixels and a thing. Ridiculous. If you can make those ships or make your own ships, I think one of the ways that Star Citizen could beat EVE is if you can build ships like in Frontier, but it's in Star Citizen. The publicly available non-NDA'd information we know about Frontier is that you can make a ship in Frontier. You can not like, I'm going to make a venture and here's the materials. In Frontier, you can build the ship and cater the stats and make it from the ground up. We talk a lot about the public available information, what that means, how if you make a ship that's a cruiser size, it's now a cruiser, right? There's an overarching web of like an umbrella of physics is what they call it. So if you can't make a venture that has Titan DPS, it just won't work. You can't make a venture that has a battleship tank, right? If you make a venture in Frontier that has mining and is small and is quick, it'll be little tiny ship, right? If Star Citizen can do this in their game, that is actually a one-up that they have on EVE Online. Because in EVE Online, there's only what the devs make. In Frontier, there's what the players make. And I think what the devs make, I don't know. I'm not sure if that's in the publicly available information. We only say that, so we'll have to see. So we'll see. You don't need to throw cash around and still do some coverage of the game. More than happy to let you use any of my ships, Justin. I'll DM anybody that wants to kind of give me some recordings of things. I wouldn't need your account. I don't know. Some game studios are, thank you, Justin, by the way. Can we get some 07s for Justin? Justin going like, yo, let me, you can use my account. Thank you for that, Justin. I don't know about account sharing. Some studios are weird about that. You know, I don't want to get you banned if I use your thing. So we'll see. If nothing else, maybe you could record some footage and I'll use it, but we'll talk, Justin. You know, thank you for that, Justin. Yeah. For sure. So, right, exactly. Thank you, Justin. Thank you. You're an awesome fan. You know, but we'll see, Chem. We'll see.
So crafting ships such as the Bengal Carrier, very, very large ships. In terms of endgame content and the player impact on the game world, endgame content includes high-level missions, dynamic events, and large-scale conflicts such as station warfare. Players can also influence the universe through their actions affecting economies, politics, and territorial control. The game balances lawful and unlawful systems, offering a whole range of different experiences based on player choices with mechanics for...
Chat, this was designed to look like the freaking Firefly ship. This looks sick. But this is my problem with Star Citizen. It all looks good. But does it play good? You know, I'm not spending a year making a station with my corp mates, my guild mates, whatever, and then a game bug causes it to be ported to the center of the planet, and then we lose all of our work, right? So, for sure, exactly. It looks amazing, like this. And this is all player made, is what Obsidian is saying. I think you can make a station. You go over here. Here's like a dock. And you can dock up. You know, you can interstellar style docking. You know, it is. I love Interstellar.
Piracy, ship theft, and base raiding. So yeah, there is some mechanics here for stealing other people's ships as well. Of
course.
Again, like I said earlier, I'm not going to go into extensive detail on all of this because the video would go on for a very, very long time. There are some other videos out there that are worth watching, but yeah, I wanted to give you an outline and then some impressions too. But I will link some other videos for you to check out if you want something a little bit more detail orientated.
Thanks, Obsidian.
So, moving on. The reaction to Star Citizen 1 within the community has been anything but uniform. Many players are excited about the new direction, a player-driven universe that allows for deep community engagement and the ability to truly shape the galaxy. This aspect of freedom and the influence is something that really does appeal to a lot of players, a lot of people who have been waiting for a game that offers this level of player agency. However, there's also a segment of the community that is somewhat less enthusiastic, and I think
no endgame content for Soul. Now, if this is anything like Reddit chat, we just disregard. We use it as data points, but we don't take it to heart. No endgame content for solo players. Still no mention of NPC crew of any kind. Oh, that's interesting. You have to have friends. So I'll be able to craft my own thing. Will I be okay with it? Where is this galaxy? Sig finally lost me and I lost hope. Stations are a mistake. That's not a game I pledged anymore.
I think their concerns are equally valid. These players were initially...
Here's my big point. We as people, as individuals, we cannot get our identity from the game we play. Because the reality is, life is made by God, and you're meant to play it. Okay, you know, if you play a video game, you're playing something that's built by humans. It's built by people. So eventually it's gonna like not fulfill you. It's just the reality of things. So you can't get your identity from stuff. But people that have spent thousands of dollars and the game isn't what they wanted, that ends up being sad, right? So this is why I never recommend you spending thousands of dollars or even hundreds of dollars on a video game. You know, like buy something you're passionate about, but don't feel like you have to keep on buying stuff. This kind of thing where you have a video game that said they were going to do stuff and then not do it. If you're a No Man's Sky, they haven't done some of the things that they promised back in the day, but the game is way better now. So just because they don't do a thing they promised, that's not necessarily a bad thing. The problem with Star Citizen, for what I keep seeing and hearing, is that the game is broken. The game don't work, and that it looks incredible, but doesn't play good. So we'll have to play it for ourselves and see. So, you know, we'll see. What I want to do is take Obsidian Ant's take and then use it as like this is my first ever time really looking at Star Citizen. Like I know of it, but it's kind of been over there. When we play it, we'll give you our first takes on it.
Drawn to the promise of a living universe built by the developers full of NPC-driven activity where they could participate without having to generate all the content themselves.
Sure.
For them, the pivot toward a sandbox experience where players are the main content drivers feels like a departure from what they signed up for.
That makes sense. And that's kind of what you're saying, Sargon, is that a lot of people were thinking there was going to be NPCs giving quests and all this other stuff. Now they're saying, oh, the players make the content. But can I tell you, that sounds super shady. So, oh, definitely, Justin. And me shouting him out, he's like quadruple, he's like 20x my size. So he puts out good videos. That's why we're trying to show him, you know. If they started off saying, hey, we're going to add quests in the game and there's going to be narrative and story and you can play around that and closer to a theme park style. And now it's like, hey, we're not going to do as many quests. We're not going to do as many of that. And it's actually the players that are going to drive it. I got to tell you, that's super sketch because saying this is a move that you see a lot of developers doing nowadays for more of the scam side, where it's, hey, the players are going to make the narrative. That means that the devs, technically speaking, have to do less work. They can put a system in place and then the players can do things. Now, I know I'm describing EVE Online. Here's the reality, though. EVE has quests. There's Abyss. EVE, again, has that real good balance where there's stuff to do in EVE that encourage player interaction, right? It's not, here's an empty universe and go gather it or something, I guess, right? We covered this in our Down the Rabbit Hole series, which is why it's really important to understand EVE's history. Jeddah as a trade hub happened. Actually, it started because it was one of the best places to do bigger NPC missions. So then more people started to stock that market. So then more people started to bring in their goods. So then more people started doing missions and it was closer to, and all of a sudden it's now the #1 trade hub in the game. So we have to look back in order to how to go forward. The point is, if they started by saying, oh, there's going to be NPCs and now there isn't, that's sketchy, chat. We got to be careful with that. So, you know, that would be great, Bellum. I would love there to be more like dungeons instances because like you're right, Bellum, and it's good to see a Alliance member here. Like the OBS flashpoints in EVE are kind of closer to that, or the Abyss, but they're not instance. It doesn't feel as right. So I literally can't tell you anything about Frontier Chase except that I'm under NDA. Take of that what you will.
Area that has been hotly debated is the concept of solo play versus collaborative play. Now, some players expected to have NPC crews running their larger ships, making solo play a viable option, and this is something that CIG have spoken about many times in the past, and I do believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that CIG said that feature would be available at launch, but all that seems to have changed with their announcement and their revelations of Star Citizen 1.0, which puts emphasis on player collaboration and features like AI blades for specific ship functions. The full NPC crew concept seems to have been sidelined, at least for now, and we can see
staff. A quick note to our solo players. Secondly, I want to reassure everyone AI blades are part of the 1.0 plan. They will not be as effective as other players. It will take additional power to run. Not by offering ways to upgrade through tiers, blah, blah. Okay. AI blades provide more functionality. NPC crews will most likely be post 1.0 plan. Okay. That said, I'll get back to work. Here's the blunt reality of things. Once again, you can play Eve as a solo player. You're just heavily incentivized to go towards group. But you can play Eve solo, and I did for years. You can mine solo, you can explore solo, you can gank solo, you can do most activities in Eve solo. The system in Eve, as the CEO of CCP Games says, the friendship, the adversity of Eve forces you together and do that and be with friends. But you can play it solo. It's totally viable game solo, totally. The fact that you basically can't play most of Star Citizen, which is how this reads, solo, without AI blades, which is like I don't know what the hell that is. It sounds like a program you can put into your ship, and then it like runs that aspect of your ship, is bad. Look, this is the brass tacks. Is that Guild Wars 1, a game I grew up with, one of the best MMOs of all time, still to this day. You want a good time, chat? Go play Guild Wars 1. Is it a little bit janky? Slightly, because it's an older game. It's like 30 years old now, sheesh. Or 20-something years old, goodness. I'm old, thank you. But you could have NPC followers that you would go out into the world with, and they just did their stuff. Were they as good as players? No way. No way. So you couldn't do dungeons with them, but you could still take them out and fill a slot if you didn't have a fourth guy. So that's the problem, is if you can't play this game solo, the game's going to fail. That's the problem, is you have to be able to like experience the game solo and not be forced to play. You have to be able to do it solo. So Sargon says, I don't care where the bar is, just put it in one spot. Only move the bar after reaching where it is. Picture trying to cheat at pull-ups. Just looks awkward. Like, bro, I know what you're doing. That's fair. That's fair, dude. Yep. Technically speaking, I run missions on solo, but I try to find people to fly with. Right. There it is. Star Citizen was always going to be a team game. Their multi-crew ships make solo play always second best. I agree that even if they were saying we will make a team game, I think that if they don't make solo play viable for, let's say, 45% of the game, I think the game will fail. I really do. Because I don't want to be required to go do everyday group play. Sometimes I want to sign on a game and just do a little stuff and just chill. Right. And I'm not saying all content must be soloable. Obviously, as I played WoW, there are raids, there are dungeons. You must find groups for those. Makes sense. But I can still farm stuff at max level solo that I use for other things. There has to be at some point, I think good MMOs force you to do group play at the end game. But you still should be able to play solo all the way up the chain. Again, the Guild Wars 1, 2, and WoW player in me saying these things, because that was the most fun. So, correct. Most of the player base is actually solo. Correct. So, we'll see about this. We will see,
AIG talking about that in this quote on the screen. So this has left some backers feeling that the game's promise to accommodate different playstyles has been somewhat compromised. Another point of division is the endgame focus on large-scale collaborative efforts like space station building and crafting capital ships. While some of these features seem amazing, they're amazing opportunities to shape the universe and make their mark, others feel that the game is putting too much emphasis on cooperative content, leaving solo players at a disadvantage. So it's important to understand here that these divided opinions reflect the complexity of Star Citizen's vision. It's a game that is trying to be many things to many people, and naturally that leads to diverse expectations and reactions. It's the difference between a developer-crafted living universe where players are participants in a rich NPC-driven environment versus a sandbox universe where the players themselves are the driving force behind the content. Rightly or wrongly, many in the community are viewing this as a fundamental shift in the game, and it's something that has obviously caused a lot of divided opinion. So many players love the idea of a world that evolves independently of them, a universe they can explore, influence, but not necessarily control. On the other hand, there are those who thrive on the idea of a player-driven narrative where every station, every ship and battle is a direct result of player actions and collaborations. These two very different visions are not necessarily mutually exclusive, but the emphasis on sandbox elements has undoubtedly shifted the focus more towards the later player-centric experience. So,
I don't hear anything. Basically, that is one of the main problems of all MMOs Star Citizen is facing. It's not just a Star Citizen problem. If you only have NPC activities, then the game is solved too fast, right? One of the best parts about EVE is that the game isn't solved. I put out best fits, but then guess what's going to happen next year? More and more people are going to use our Fix Your Fits series fits, and then we're going to have to redo the fits because now the meta has shifted because the players are the ones that actually dictate the meta. There are certain modules that are better for PvE activities, but you always have to be aware of the player influence. So this is not just a Star Citizen problem. It's a whole video game problem. What is going to kill a game like Star Citizen is if they try to do 4 things at once instead of 3, the likelihood goes up that they will fail. If they try to do 3 things instead of 2, the likelihood goes up that it'll fail. If you try to do one thing really, really good, 1 or 2 things, then at a very philosophical macro sense, then the game will succeed. Valheim's a great game. I've been playing it recently. It's awesome because it does one thing really well and keeps iterating on those systems. It's really, really great. EVE Online is a great game because it does one thing really, really well and it keeps kind of going outwards and outwards. If Star Citizen is like, if you get to a point where it's like, well, it's unplayable now in that direction, I have to go that way? Well, I don't want to do that. I guess I'll quit. We'll see. We'll see.
What about my personal feelings on all of this? Well, to be honest, I'm very torn. On the one hand, I appreciate what CIG are doing here with Star Citizen 1 and its dynamic living world. On the other hand, I'm not particularly excited about the heavy emphasis on sandbox gameplay where players drive so much of the content. Things like building space stations, crafting capital ships, and gathering resources. For me, I enjoy the occasional base building or crafting, but I prefer those as side elements of a game, not as the main focus. Right now, I'm struggling to understand whether these player-driven mechanics will become the core focus and the core experience of Star Citizen, or just be part of the wider set of features Star Citizen is, or was known for. And it also seems I'm not entirely alone in that, despite CIG going out of their way with a rather extensive and very detailed presentation. There's quite a lot of players out there who right now are pretty unsure as to where things stand about this specific subject. So yeah, it feels like Star Citizen 1 is shifting towards a player-driven sandbox, with players generating the content rather than a handcrafted reactive world built by the developers. That said, obviously it's not a case of being one or the other. There is a Venn diagram here where much of the content where Star Citizen 1 does reside right in the center of the overlap here. But yeah, there's also the divide between what's two very different ideas of what Star Citizen could be. So personally, what ultimately attracted me to Star Citizen...
I was probably muted there. Thank you. This is not actual gameplay. This is pre-rendered cutscenes. While it looks pretty sick, thank you, Chad. To be able to board a station and go loot items and get the goodies, right? We'll see how it actually plays, right?
In the beginning was the idea of a living universe, one that involves independently of the players, where we as citizens are simply living within a world that feels alive and real. Obviously, base building was going to be a goal here and very much a focus. It's been that way for a very long time, but just the extent of what that now seems to be has been somewhat surprising to me. Ultimately, though, I'm more than able to stand back and understand that those are my subjective feelings, that's my subjective take, and I can look at this more objectively. So yeah, that's what my personal take is, you know that. But what do I feel about what CIG are doing overall here? Well, somewhat paradoxically, I feel that CIG are making a good step for the game here. This is a good direction overall. Whilst it might not be my personal preference, it may not be to my personal tastes, I do recognise that for Star Citizen as a whole, it is a very good objective. I mean, it's hard not to acknowledge that Star Citizen 1's current direction makes a lot of sense, especially in today's gaming landscape. The sandbox approach allows for a deeper community connection, players working together to build something, leaving their own mark on the universe. It's definitely an interesting move that puts the community at the center of the overall experience, and if CIG can manage that balance well, it could be what keeps players coming back for years to come. It also means that CIG are now firmly stepping forward with a solid direction for Star Citizen. Up until this point, there's been a huge list of different promises and features that Star Citizen has been promising over the years, and obviously not all of them can be completed initially. And whilst I'm sure over time most of them will come, a lot of them are not going to be featured fully in Star Citizen at 1.0. It seems ultimately those will come later down the line. For now, CIG are very firmly committed to creating a solid, well-grounded overall experience, and I think what they're doing here with Star Citizen 1 is certainly a very good direction. So that's why I think that despite my reservations, Star Citizen 1's ultimately is a positive step. It may not be the handcrafted NPC-driven world that I initially hoped for, but it's shaping up to be a universe where the players themselves are the lifeblood, making it evolve and grow over time. If CIG sticks to their plans with this version of Star Citizen, it could certainly end up being a game with unparalleled depth, where player choices and community activities genuinely shape the future. So yeah, Star Citizen 1 is a mixed bag for me, and I think it's fair to say the community as well feels much the same way. At least quite a few people in there. It's clear there's quite a bit of division. Now let me know what you think about all of this in the comment section below. Are you excited about the sandbox aspects, or are you, like me, still wondering what happened to the reactive universe driven by NPCs? Or do you ultimately feel that what has been revealed in Star Citizen 1 is a good mix of both? Is there something here for everyone? Either way, it's certainly a fascinating journey here with Star Citizen. I don't think anyone can deny that.
Awesome job with this video from Obsidian, and we will link this in chat. We will link it in this reaction. It's pretty clear that I got to go play some Star Citizen to do some obvious reactions for. That's awesome. go follow Oz chat to go give him a sub. That's not what I meant to copy paste. This one right here. Really interesting. What we've seen. Let me give you my final take, and then we'll go from there. What I've seen in this entire video is not one time did I see somebody actually playing the game. It was all pre-rendered cutscenes, and I know that that was just what he used for this. Based on Obsidian Ant's thoughts, let me just summarize what I think he's saying. Star Citizen 1.0 is not the game that people were promised, with more NPCs, more story-driven, more narratives, and is more so a game that the players are going to dictate what happens and what is going on in the game. There's less work being done on letting the players have a guide through the game, and more work being done on letting the players build their own areas of space. I don't hate that direction, but if they promised a certain game and now it's different, that's not good. Full stop. That's it. So for sure, Lance, yeah. This is the reality. It's a video game. We talk about this a lot. It's a video game, so you have to have enjoyment in the game. And if I'm being forced to sign on to a video game every day for 10 hours, like, it's just not gonna, the game won't work. EVE Online has people that know life the game and they play nothing but the game, but they still take breaks, you know, and it sounds like what Star Citizen is going for, at least from this video, is more on to catering to the no-lifers, which I say no-lifers, and I want you to understand that this is not trying to be disparaging. It just is a reality that some people will play for like 10 or 12 hours a day. It's not healthy. It's just not good. If this game becomes something that you have to play instead of a game you want to play, I think it'll eventually die. I do. EVE Online is a game that some people feel like they have to play it, but most people treat it like a video game. You sign on, you have some good time with your buds, and then you just keep it going. There are those people that play nothing but EVE Online, and that's the only game they play, and that's fine. That's not a problem. But if you take a video game and you act like it's the only thing you have in life, that's where stuff goes bad. I think that Star Citizen looks incredible. When we play it, you're going to get first-hand experiences. I've got a good graphics card, I got a good RAM, the whole thing. The systems in the game sound great. The things that the game is trying to do sound great. But I've just heard so many negative things about how it actually plays and what it actually is to be very skeptical. And as always, chat, we say don't pre-order games, don't buy games you're unsure of. Let me buy the game. I'll play it. and then give you my honest opinions on it. So shout out to Obsidian again. Go give him a follow. Go give him a sub. I don't know if he streams. Go check out his channel. We'll definitely be reacting to more of his stuff soon. Thanks, Obsidian, for that. Chat, if you want all of our game news, that's this playlist right here. We're covering a bunch of space games, not just Elite Dangerous, not just Star Citizen, not just EVE Online, all of them. We're going to get some good stuff for it, so check out that playlist right here. If you want the best EVE Online guides and more things like this, sub right here. We'll see you soon in the future video. Thanks very much, y'all. Thanks for your patience. We'll see ya in the next video. Thanks.